Yeah, my feeling in the car was not very good. Actually, my feet were even flying off the pedals, so we need to investigate.
Listen, guys, something seriously went wrong for Max Verstappen this weekend in Montreal, and nobody is talking about the full picture. His feet were literally flying off the pedals, his dad was spotted in a secret meeting with the enemy, and there is a hungry rookie sitting right next to him in the garage who is getting closer every single race. Today, we are breaking down all 7 things happening around Max right now, and trust me, by the end of this video, your jaw is going to drop. So let's break it down. But before, if you want more updates and news on Max, then hit that like button and subscribe for more breakdowns. The pedal problem. So let us start with what happened in Canadian sprint qualifying, because this one is genuinely shocking. Max rolled into Montreal feeling decent after a strong showing in Miami where he actually put the car on the front row. Everyone thought Red Bull had finally turned a corner. Then Montreal happened and it all fell apart again. During sprint qualifying, Max was all over the place. The car was bouncing so badly over the bumps at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve that he literally could not keep his feet on the pedals. He came on the radio frustrated, pulled into the pits early, and still somehow ended up 7th on the grid. After the session, he said it himself, he was struggling with the ride of the car all over the bumps. He could not put his foot down, and his feet were even flying off the pedals. He called on Red Bull to investigate immediately. And the most alarming part? He finished just 1/10 ahead of his rookie teammate Hajar, which brings us to something very important a little later. The regulation war. Now here is where the story gets much bigger than just one bad qualifying session. Max has been dropping hints all season long that he might actually walk away from Formula One. Not retire to a beach somewhere, but genuinely quit because he hates what the sport has become under the 2026 regulations. He has called these cars anti-racing. He has compared driving them to playing Mario Kart. He said at one point he almost does not even want to drive anymore, which, coming from a guy who has lived and breathed racing his entire life, that is a terrifying sentence. Think about that for a second. The most competitive driver on the planet saying he almost does not want to get in the car. But here is the good news, and this is what he confirmed in Montreal this week. The FIA has agreed in principle to change the engine formula for 2027, shifting the power balance from a 50-50 split between the combustion engine and the battery to a 60-40 split favoring the combustion engine. More mechanical power, less battery management, more actual racing. Max said very clearly that this is definitely heading in a very positive direction, and that it definitely helps convince him to stay. So it looks like Formula One might just keep its biggest star after all. The development race problem. But even with all that positivity around the rule changes, Max was honest about where Red Bull actually stands right now heading into the Canadian Grand Prix weekend. And it is not pretty. After a string of difficult results this season, including an aggressive comeback drive to 5th in Miami after Red Bull brought a massive upgrade package, Max warned that Montreal is going to be a pure development race. He admitted openly that Red Bull is no longer the dominant force they were in 2023 and 2024. They are fighting to just stay on par with the top 3 teams right now, which are Mercedes, McLaren, and Ferrari. He said he is hoping to try radical new setups just to close the gap, which tells you everything about where the team is mentally. 3 years ago, Max was winning races by 20 seconds. Now he is talking about trying desperate setups just to be competitive. That is how much the game has changed in 2026. The career low stat, hold on, because this next number is going to hit different. After the first 3 races of 2026, Max Verstappen had just 12 points and was sitting 9th in the Drivers' Championship. 9th. That is his worst start to a Formula One season since his actual debut year back in 2015, when he was a teenager racing for Toro Rosso with basically nothing to lose. And what makes this stat even more brutal is that there are more points available now than ever before because of sprint races. So the opportunity is bigger than it has ever been, and he is scoring less than at any point in his career since day one. For context, drivers he would normally lap lap around a circuit are currently sitting above him in the standings. And that is not an exaggeration. That is the cold, hard reality of where Max Verstappen is right now. The secret meeting. Now let me show you something that sent the entire paddock into a frenzy this week. On the Canadian Grand Prix Media Day, Jos Verstappen, Max's father, was spotted sitting inside the Mercedes hospitality unit having what looked like a very long and very serious conversation with Toto Wolff. Now, Red Bull team principal Laurent Mekies came out and said there is no big intention behind it, that Max was racing a Mercedes GT3 at the Nürburgring last week, so it is all perfectly natural. But here is what nobody is saying out loud. Max reportedly has performance-related exit clauses in his Red Bull contract that could be triggered this summer, and Jos Verstappen does not just casually sit down with the competition for no reason. That man is always thinking 3 steps ahead when it comes to his son's career. If those clauses activate, Mercedes, McLaren, and Ferrari will all be making phone calls very quickly. The teammate threat. And while all of this is going on with the politics and the regulations and the car problems, there is a quiet threat growing right inside the Red Bull garage itself. Rookie Isaac Hadjar, who replaced Yuki Tsunoda at Red Bull this season, has been genuinely impressive. He qualified ahead of Max in Australia and Suzuka. In Montreal sprint qualifying, he was right there in 8th, just behind Max in 7th, and he backed up every single complaint Max had about the bouncing, which actually makes Max look even more credible. The Miami upgrades were reportedly built around Max's driving style, and even with that advantage, Hadjar is closing the gap week by week. Previous Red Bull teammates like Sergio Perez got completely destroyed by this team environment, but Hadjar seems to be made of different stuff, and that should worry Max at least a little. That is not a comfortable situation for anyone inside Red Bull. What happens next? So to bring it all together, Max had his feet flying off the pedals in Montreal, Red Bull are deep in a development war against 3 faster teams, and the 2027 rule changes might be the only thing keeping him on the grid. Meanwhile, his dad is having coffee with Toto Wolff. A rookie is breathing down his neck, and his career stats are at a 10-year low. Every single angle of this story points to one thing. Max Verstappen is at the most uncertain crossroads of his entire career. My honest opinion? Max is still the most dangerous driver on the grid, even in a struggling car, and 2027 with better regulations could make him absolutely unstoppable again. But here is the question I want to leave you with. If that exit clause activates this summer, do you think Max Verstappen leaves Red Bull? Drop your answer in the comments right now.